Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2012 Ram 2500, we're going to be showing you how to install the B&W Custom Installation Kit for companion fifth wheel trailer hitches. But before we do that, why don't we check this out and make sure it's going to work for you.
This fifth wheel installation kit is designed to let you install your B&W companion fifth wheel trailer hitches. The adapters that work with this are part number BWRVJ3500 or part number BWRVK3400. The underbed design of this kit allows for full truck bed access, and when you're ready, it's under 5 minutes to convert your empty truck bed into a fifth wheel hitch. We'll start off by unlocking our B&W hitch and installing our fifth wheel adapter. We have ours pre-assembled, but you can adjust the uprights here depending on your truck and trailer combination. At this point, the hitch is ready to attach to the trailer. There's a little clip here that you release. Basically, it's a safety pin. Then you swing the handle out and you can watch the jaws open. You're ready to back onto your trailer. Once they're secure onto your trailer, you can reinstall the clip. And since this fifth wheel installation kit doubles as a gooseneck hitch, when you're not towing your fifth wheel, you can remove it. This frees up the hole to reinsert the hitch ball when you need it.
Nowadays, towing these bigger trailers are getting more and more popular. You know, you see a lot of people out here with campers and all kinds of different things. And these trucks now are really capable. This is going to be one way to do it. And not to mention too, you can also use this kit with the companion, which essentially will turn it into a fifth wheel head. So kind of really opens up your opportunities. But one of the best things about a setup like this is the fact that it is B&W. So if you're familiar at all with the towing world, chances are pretty good you've probably heard of the name B&W, and there's a reason why. They make really high quality parts, you know, top-notch stuff. They're my favorite. You know, when it just comes to overall functionality, you know, the construction quality, the fitment, everything is top-notch. So it's a setup you really can't go wrong with. And I think in our case, you know, it turned out really clean. Everything is going to be underneath the bed, so all the brackets and stuff. So up top here, it's not going to take up any space. You know, you have full bed access, with the exception of, you know, just your safety chain openings coming up a little bit. But I mean, who cares? It's not a huge deal. And even the ball, so you can actually store this in the hitch. So when you're not using it, I have it unlocked right now. You obviously want to lock this in when you're towing, but just take this and flip it over, and you don't have to worry about keeping track of it or it rolling around in the back seat of your truck. So really convenient and well thought out. As far as the you know, weight capacities and everything, the ball is going to be 2 5/16 in diameter, so really standard there. It's going to have a 7,500 pound vertical load limit, so amount of weight pushing down on it. And then as far as the gross trailer weight rating, it's going to be 30,000 pounds, or the amount of weight pulling on it. So that's how much your trailer weighs, plus anything that's in or on it. With that in mind though, it's never a bad idea just to grab your truck's owner's manual. That way you can double check, make sure it can pull that much weight safely. One thing I do suggest picking up, if you end up going with a setup like this, is in-bed wiring. So you'll have a 7-way connector actually in the bed of your truck, and you won't have to drape your trailer's wiring over the tailgate and plug it in down there by the bumper. Having a connector up here, it's just the right way to do things, you know, and it's clean and a lot more efficient. And there's a lot of kits available that'll allow you to still utilize a bumper plug too. So the one down there will work as well as this one. So if you're interested in that, we have a lot of different options available right here at eTrailer. In terms of, you know, how you're actually going to operate the hitch, there's going to be a handle here on the driver's side. And so I mentioned earlier how it was unlocked. When you're ready to lock it, it just drops right in, and then that ball, you won't be able to pull it out. But whenever you're ready to, it just pulls right out. You push it over a little bit and it stays open, ready for you to pull that ball out. Other than all that though, at the end of the day, you know, if you're looking for a really quality gooseneck trailer hitch, this is one definitely worth checking out. As far as it getting installed, it really wasn't too bad. Sometimes these hitches can be a real pain to get in. Other times they're relatively easy. This one definitely was on the easier side. Don't get me wrong, it's still gonna take some time, but you know, everything's pretty easy to get to, and with B&W, you know, the fitment, it didn't really have to fight anything. So hopefully this video can help you out and save you a little bit of time, but if you'd like to see how that's done, feel free to stick around. We'll go ahead and put it on together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here at our rear wheels on our truck, and all of you may not have these, but our case, we have these liners. It's going to make it a lot easier to work if these are out of the way. So I'm going to pull these out. We're just going to have a bunch of 8mm head screws that kind of run along the edge here, and then we'll have 2 in the center. So grab our socket and get all these out. Once you have the last of the screws out, should be able just to drop these down, and you can kind of just start to push this in. Work it out, and then I'm just going to let it lay right on top of our wheel there. With the passenger side wheel well liner out, I went ahead and did the same thing to remove the driver's side. And over back here on the passenger side, if you look along this flange here, there's going to be a pre-drilled hole right from the factory, and we need to essentially cut out a small opening. That way we can get our cross rails and stuff in there. So I used a diagram and instructions, drew that out, and I'm going to remove that material. I'm just going to use a Dremel tool. You can also use maybe a Sawzall or something along those lines. This is what it looks like once it's cut out, and just to help to prevent rust in the future, I'm going to take some clear spray paint and just put a coating over that bare metal there. Here in the bed of the truck, we can take some measurements. That way we know where to drill our hole for the gooseneck. Depending on if you have a short bed or a long bed, those measurements can vary, so make sure to see your instructions. And you want to measure from the edge of the bed itself. So this part here. And if you have a bed liner or anything like that, take that into consideration when you're drilling. So make your mark, and then you want to make sure it's centered. You can usually get it pretty close just by eyeballing where the channels run, but not a bad idea. Measure from wheel well to wheel well, split the difference. But we'll grab our hole saw and get this drilled out. Not a bad idea either to check underneath the truck, just make sure there's nothing of importance there, which I've done, and we're all clear. So I'll get this lined up here, get our hole saw lined up, and get it drilled out. Once this is drilled out, if you want to, you can take a hand file and just kind of smooth out some of the edges, which I just did. And then, just like our wheel well liner, not a bad idea to hit it with a little spray paint to stop that rust. Now we can grab our cross rails, and this one is going to go towards the front of the truck. And what I suggest doing is this has threaded holes in it. Take one of the bolts and just run it through all of them, because sometimes a powder coating can kind of hang these up. And so I did that already, just run it through, kind of clean them out. And then the way this is gonna go in, you can see I put some arrows here. On the ends of this, we're gonna have a bolt or a hole that's offset. You want that to face up towards the bottom of the bed. So that's how we're gonna slide it in. So, might have to kind of finesse this in a little bit. This is where that piece that we notched is going to come into play. I'm going to try to get this all the way across. Get it in there and then rotate it up. And we're just going to push it all the way forward like that. And we can get the rear rail in, so that's this one here, and the way this is going to sit is like this. So this will be on the bottom of the bottom of the bed, and this flange is going to face towards the front. So this one might be a little trickier to work in, just being a little bit bigger. I'll push that in. And then we can rotate it up. You might have to go underneath and do that just to get a little more leverage on it to pry up against the bottom of our bed. So now underneath, we can grab our center section, and we want this spring side, this part, to be on the driver's side. But we're going to attempt here to get this into position. And I'm going to try to get it locked in. So while we have it roughly in position, I'm going to start these bolts here. You're just going to take a bolt, split lock washer, and a flat washer, and get these threaded in. And I'll probably just try to get one or two of them going. That way everything will kind of hold itself up and make it a little bit easier on us. So I got all those bolts started. There's 4 of them. And then you want to kind of position this. You can feel the hitch kind of go up through that hole that we drilled, you know, in the bed. So get it where you need it. And we can slide our rail up. Sometimes it'll be tight. That's normal. Sometimes you might have to even kind of tap it into place. Once that's lined up, we can push our hitch up, and then you're just going to take a bolt and a flat washer, run that through, and then on the back side where that bolt comes out, take a split lock washer and a hex nut. I'll get this started hand tight, and we'll have 2 more attachment points there and there, and I'll just use that same hardware to get that going as well. Now moving over here to the driver's side wheel well, there's going to be a bracket that we need to take off for the time being. It's this one here, just held in place with a 13mm head bolt. So get that out of there, and this should pop out. It's pretty rusty, so we might have to just grab a screwdriver here real quick. See if I can't just pry that out. Now we can start to focus on getting our side plates installed. And what you're going to do is take the pull wire that they give you, and this hole right here in the frame, you're going to take the coiled end of your fish wire and run it towards the back of the truck. And towards the very back on the bottom side of the frame, there's going to be a big hole that we're going to try to drop our fish wire out of. Sometimes you get lucky, it'll fall right out. Chances are pretty good though. We'll have to go underneath and kind of look up there and help it out. So underneath the truck here, this is that hole I was talking about, and we can see our fish wire up there. Just have to kind of work it out. Like that. And then we can take our hardware. So you're going to have the spacer block. You'll feed that over it. And push it up into the frame. You'll have this carriage bolt. That'll thread on there. And I want to mention too, from this point on, whatever we do to this side, we'll do to the other side as well, because it'll be set up the same way. But we'll push that up in there, and then we can go back to the side, pull on our wire, and get the bolt to come out through the frame. Pull our bolt out just like that, and we'll leave our fish wire on it for now. I can tuck this out of the way here. And I noticed if you try to put our side plate on, it's going to pinch this ground wire, and so we're going to take that off. It's a 10mm. We'll pull the nut off and get that popped off. And just to be on the safe side too, There's a little plastic fastener there kind of holding that in on the top of the frame. We'll just pop that out as well. Give us some extra room to work, you know. And with that done, now we can grab our side plate, which is this here, and these are side specific, so make sure to check the diagram in your instructions. And you're gonna take your pull wire, and feed it out through this hole here. Work that into position. Get our bolt to pass through. And then we can attach our side plate to the actual underbed rails there. So for this one here, you're just going to take a bolt, split lock washer, and that flat washer, and just get it hand tight for now. And then for this attachment point, you're just going to take a bolt, push it through our side plate and out through the underbed rail. We'll take a flat washer, the split lock washer, and a nut. And then we can work our way back to our fish wire. We're going to pull this off. Just going to unthread it. And this one's just going to receive a split lock washer and a hex nut. Now underneath the truck, over here on the driver's side, so you can see part of our gooseneck side plate there, a U-bolt is supposed to come and wrap around the frame and go in through the side plate. Obviously we have these wires and stuff here. We don't want to pinch them. So I'm just going to loosen these up, pry out the little fasteners here. That way we don't mess anything up. And then get our U-bolt in behind it. So this will slide around the frame and go through our side plate. So you can see where our U-bolt comes through. And with these, pretty straightforward, split lock washer and a nut. So now before we tighten anything down, it's a good idea to draw our center section up tight against the bottom of our truck bed. And what you can do is, I made this little apparatus here. I just had two big pieces of wood, put a 2x4 across, and then you can take a strap and connect the ends to there's a pin in our gooseneck there. Connect the ends to that and tighten this thing up. So when you pull up on it, it forces the center section up tight against the bottom of our bed. And while you're up here too, not a bad idea if you need to, you know, maneuver things around a little bit to get it to fit better. You can do that at the same time. If you remove this keeper here for your e-brake cable, go ahead and get that started again, hand tight. That way it's lined up. And then we can snug down the bolts that are holding our crossbars to our side plate. So 3/4 inch socket. And we'll run these down. Now we want to make sure everything is square. So I just measured from here to our cross member, and just make sure it's the same on both sides. If you need to, if you got to tap one forward a little bit, then so be it. But usually it should be pretty close, but definitely double check it and make sure it's right on the money. Underneath the truck, we can tighten up or snug up all the bolts here. That's attaching our center section to our cross rails, and I like to just work from the center out. Use a 19mm or 3/4 inch socket. Let's get all these snug. Obviously this one's going to be a little trickier because not a lot of space, so you can always use a box wrench like this too. But this one too, It really helps if you have a ratcheting type one, just speeds things up. If not, no big deal. The old classic will work as well. Come back to our side plates and snug up this hardware, as well as our U-bolt hardware. And when you do this U-bolt, try to kind of tighten these up evenly. That way the bolt will kind of pull itself straight. Just kind of go back and forth as best you can. Sometimes you're not going to be able to get it perfect, but as long as it's close, it'll be all right. So now, once everything is snug, you can come back with a torque wrench and tighten the hardware down to the amount specified in the instructions. You want to tighten down the bolts that are in the center section first, and then once those are all done, then we can go outside and tighten down the hardware that's holding the rails to the side plates, and then last but not least, the side plates themselves. So we'll follow that procedure and get these all torqued down. With some of the bolts being a little tricky to get to, you can always use a tool like this. I just call it a dog bone, but there's other names for it and other similar versions. But a lot of times that'll allow you to kind of get in those tighter spots and make it a little bit easier to torque down. Once everything's torqued down, don't forget to come back and tighten this down. And if you take your ground wire off, put that back on and get it re-secured as well. Back underneath, now we can get our handle put in. So take the handle part, run it over the frame. I'm on the driver's side. And then you're going to take this part and get it through. And this is going to line up with that latch mechanism there. So you could take the little carriage bolt. You're going to take this little carriage bolt, push that through, make sure it goes through the eyelet on the handle, and then there's a flange nut. And it's really tricky to see, you'll just have to go by feel. But you'll get that started and then come back with a, this is a 1/2-inch wrench that I'm using, and just snug this down. You don't have to get carried away cranking down on it. Just make sure it's not going to come off. So we got our handle in. Only issue is if you go to put the wheel well liner back up, it's essentially right in the way. It'd be kind of a pain to operate. So I just loosely got this in and kind of lined up where we want our handle to come. And so I'm just going to cut this material out. That way we can actually get to it a lot easier. So being plastic, I'm going to use a Dremel tool. You could use a pair of snips or kind of whatever you got laying around the house. Got this little piece out now. I feel like that handle will be much easier to operate and get to. So I got our bed liner back in. Obviously this will only apply to those of you that have the bed liner. But what I did was set it in here, and then from the bottom I just traced up through our hitch to figure out where I needed to drill a hole, and just used my hole saw to cut that out, and lined up pretty good actually. But I wanted to get this back in first because we still have to drill our safety chain holes. That way we can get our safety chains in there. And I wanted those safety chains to actually come through our bed liner. That way they're all integrated and I don't have to cut a big square out of this. So that's why I did this. And with that said, we can go underneath and start to drill those out. So back underneath we have a couple sets of holes. And obviously these are on each side of the ball here, but you want to choose a hole that is closest to the bottom of the corrugation on your bed. So in our case, it'll be this one. So I'll drill that out, drill this one out, do the same for the other side, and then we'll be able to go up top and put our actual hooks in. So 1/2-inch drill bit, and we'll go right up through there. So up top, you can see where our holes came through. And now you can take your U-bolts, make sure them drop in easily. And then we'll go from the bottom and get the rest of our hardware on. And I already did the 3 ends, but they're all gonna be the same. We're gonna take the spring, put it over, and take the nut, get it started hand tight, and then you just wanna tighten these down until they're flush with the end of the U-bolt. So it doesn't take a whole lot. So about like that, and you'll be in pretty good shape. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the B&W Underbed install kit for companion fifth wheel hitches on our 2012 Ram 2500.